Yep, perfect.
You do. Right.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today. We have head coach Jeff Quinn, senior wide receiver Fred Lee. Just a reminder for those here for the first time, please state your name and affiliation when you're asking a question. And with that, Coach Quinn will open up with a statement.
Okay, very good. Thank you, and I appreciate everyone for being here. It's probably one of the most exciting times to be a part of the University at Buffalo and this football program. Big day. A lot of people may not know this, but congratulations to President Tripathi, because downtown is their ceremonial groundbreaking in downtown Buffalo as they build our new School of Medicine. So it's a great day for this university and everyone involved, so congratulations. The Western Michigan shutout win was a big-time effort by the entire team. I tell you what I was most impressed with was the pressure we put on them from the defensive side and taking the ball away. You know, we've really established ourselves as being an opportunistic defense, and that was a big part of it. Offensively, taking good care of the ball, taking great care of the ball, valuing the aspect that that's a big part of it. Kobe Way, named Defensive MAC Player of the Week. Was a tremendous honor for him, but it was a lot of because they were doubling and triple teaming old Khalil Mack. You know, it was just an unbelievable effort by him. Just real passionate, very determined, and you know, he was very productive. But Kobe was a beneficiary of that, and he moved up into the top 10 and career sack leaders here at the University of Buffalo. And also another gentleman that broke a record was Brandon Oliver. You know, with the offensive line and the fullbacks, the receivers, tight ends all blocking, we were over 325 yards on the day. But Bo broke the most career 100-yard rushing days, 14. So he set that record. So great accomplishment and a great victory. Another important win to win on the road. You know, we hadn't done that. You know, we challenged our kids all week, last week, to prepare, lock into the right things, and you know, and they certainly responded to that challenge. And I think the other thing to be able to do that on the road and have a shutout since 1965, that's too long. We're not interested in waiting that long to get a shutout on the road. But to beat two Michigan teams, and I've coached in that state for 18 years, those are two great programs. And for our program at this point to be able to beat two Eastern and Western back-to-back in a very convincing fashion certainly helps in our recruiting effort in the state of Michigan. So very proud of that. I think special teams, Pat's 51-yarder, kind of got that little monkey off his back a little bit, which was good. Tyler Grassman's doing a great job punting for us. Just really overall, everything is in we're in good shape right now. We got to continue to keep our focus on the process, not the prize, and all those things. And this gentleman to my right, your left, Freddie Lee, has provided us with tremendous leadership. He's a living example of what I believe is somebody who locks in and does things the right way, inspires others to competitive greatness, and that's what I always consider a four to be, somebody who brings others along. And he's just a tremendous competitor on that field, and he's doing some special things. And everyone knows he was named to the 2013 All-State AFC Good Works team, and one of 11 FBS players, the only MAC player and the first one in the history of our football program. So a lot of exciting things happening in our program. Couldn't be more proud, but we need to lock in on Intense Tuesday today as we move forward, getting ready for UMass. So any questions, we'd open up for you.
Okay, Jeff, Howard Simon, the chairman. You talked about staying focused on the process, not the prize. How tough is that? There obviously, guys haven't maybe had this kind of streak and been in this position, chance to go 3-0 in the MAC and the win streak, one win from bowl eligible. How tough is it to keep them focused on, the short-term task, not to get caught up in the positives of the big picture?
Well, that's my job and my coach's job and our leadership, and they've done that, and they respond to that, and that's what they want. We've spent a lot of time with this senior class about how to approach, each season, each week the right way, and the message hasn't changed. It's been the same. So I feel just the growth and maturity of our players, along with myself being consistent with our coaching staff's messaging and mindset, and being less affected externally and more internally driven, will provide us with that same attention to detail that we need to have. And it's all in our attitude, and it starts again today with Intense Tuesday.
Jeff, John Morrow with the Associated Press. The message may not have changed, but how the tone has obviously changed as far as enthusiasm goes and excitement, knowing where you're at. And have you noticed that among your staff, among your players, and given what you've done on this streak so far?
Absolutely, and I think in the convincing fashion over 3 weeks, we got to continue building on that, and that certainly puts a little pep in your step. But I've always addressed it to the team and our program, and I said it when I first was hired here. We're going to run the very best football program in the country, and we're going to do things the right way by having the right people. Number one, you build a championship football program, an organization, a relationship, a marriage with good people. People that know how to do things the right way, and that's why the senior class is special to me, is they have opportunities and they want to continue that streak, and they want to continue that feeling, and they're hungry. They're driven. They're passionate. They're in the film room studying. They trained all summer here. We've done a lot of things to build that unity, and it's a close group. But that's what that's all about, and they're feeling it. I just don't want them to, I want them to understand, each week is a new week and a new opponent, and UMass is our focus right now. And get in and study and take care of yourself, because it's a long season. And this is where that October month can get a little tricky as you continue to climb that mountain towards the top.
Fred, do you see any differences, whether it was off-season commitment or focus in season or enthusiasm or time spent in film sessions? Do you see any difference in this team right now than previous teams?
It started years ago when Coach Quinn stepped in. He came in and, like he said, he came in with the same message that we're preaching now. And it really takes time, getting the right people. And, for a while we had a few guys that were believing in it and a few guys believing in it. And each year, as we got better, we had more and more guys believing. But this year, our senior class definitely, we met with Coach Quinn and we, came up with a lot of ideas and things that we really wanted to do. And Coach Quinn really has given us a tremendous leadership role. And a lot of guys, me, Alex News, Khalil Mack, Brandon Oliver, Jason Carlson, all those guys, we've been, really working hard to make sure, we get the message across. And the biggest thing is, what people don't see is that freshman class and those younger guys who might not be in the headlights and you might not know their names, the guys who compete on scout team. Practice, if you come watch practice, it's enthusiastic. Those guys are competing, giving us a good look, doing all the things, and, not notice on the sideline, chanting, cheering. All that stuff is a big part of winning, and a lot of people don't see that. But those guys are doing a tremendous job, and I just want to honestly just give a shout out to those underclassmen for making this year a good year for us too.
What are some of the things that the seniors, you said that you guys had some ideas, you went to coach, what are some of the things you can share?
We just talk about, the mentality of being all in. That was one of our biggest things. And so a lot of us, took, steps away from a lot of things. Me, I used to work a lot, and I took some time off from work or whatever to focus and really put myself all in to the program as far as staying out to practice. The captains meet with Coach Quinn every Sunday. We go over ideas and stuff. And Coach Quinn just honestly just gives us so much. He's so much more lenient as far as he lets us control things. He lets us control breaks and lets us control huddles. Even sometimes play calling, when he comes to the sideline, he looks, and if we say, hey, I think we can do it, he believes in us and gives us that opportunity. Against UConn, I told him I could beat him on the go route, and he called it, so it was things like that, shows he really believes in us. And with that belief that he has in us, it allows us to, believe in ourselves, and then we just continue to grow. And, like I said, those young guys are doing a great job.
I can follow one more. What gave you the confidence to allow the seniors that kind of growth, so to speak, that responsibility?
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw it by their actions when they were, freshmen and sophomores. And I spent time with Freddie just listening to what these guys wanted. And the two things that they disliked most in the program was losing and not playing. So, which was easy to talk to them a little bit about, okay, what's that going to take? And all in was the mentality. And, you see the growth. It's a shared experience. I think as we all know as coaches, it's important to get in touch with your players, to allow them to have representation in your program, and they're building it right along the way. It's not, as I tell them, it's not my way, it's not their way, it's the right way, and it's our way. And that's been a big message that I've set from day one. But these guys have taken it to another level, and that's the beautiful part of where we're at. But we got to continue keeping that same mindset as we work through day to day towards the prize.
Is that part of the progression as you first? I mean, you weren't familiar with the guys back in '09 or whatever. Is that part of your coaching progression as to where you learn to give trust and they earn that trust?
And we talk about the bank of trust because that's a great question. I told them that, we wiped the slate clean. I'm going to get to know every one of those guys. I mean, it was just like in the locker room, going into the locker room, spending some time sitting down next to a guy in the locker room, and, when you're on trips and you're going through a year, amount of sacrifice, and you got to get to know them. And that's who I am. I'm a people person. I like to listen. People told me, listen twice as much as you talk. And I know I'm a talker, but, at the end of the day, it's just pure passion and heart. That's why, because I feel good about what we're promoting here as the right things. And that's what you get, when people give you a chance to allow you to invest in it and an opportunity to weigh in. You feel more of a part of it, and that's what this team feels right now, and that's what we got to continue building on.
Fred, Andy Young with YNN. How gratifying as a senior, being through some struggles, to see this start to turn around? And I know it's a long season, you got a lot of goals still left out there, but to see the seeds start to come forward and see the winning, how gratifying is it for this team?
It's awesome. It's awesome, and we've always believed in it. Regardless of what everybody on the outside thought about, we were really close knit, and I think that's really the part that means the most. Is years ago we knew that this day was coming, and we kept talking about it, and we didn't quite know exactly when it would come, but we knew if we kept working, we stayed over the summer, making sacrifices, doing all the things that nobody really saw. We knew it was coming, and so now, our last year is coming. It's really good. It's kind of a bittersweet feeling, to be honest, knowing that things are coming around. We're starting to get the stadium filled and, all the things Danny White's doing as far as the program and knowing it's your last year. But the biggest thing is knowing that, we were the forerunners to kind of get it started. That, that lets you know that, you did all the right things. And so it's an exciting time for us, and we're just continuing to work hard to make it even more exciting, So.
Fred does your player tone to Buffalo. You mentioned something about the fans responding. How satisfying is that, looking out there instead of all those empty seats to see the stadium with all that blue?
Oh, it's amazing to look at. I can remember some games. I think our parents were the only people at the games and the few media, but it's just awesome. Danny White has honestly did a great job at promoting this program, and I think when he this off season, he really showed a lot of belief in us with all of the concerts and the things that he was doing. It's kind of like that really gave us a lot of confidence knowing that all of these things were coming together for our games, and so it's almost like he's doing all this to show that he's all in. We got to go out here and win. So I think it's a little pressure that turned into some confidence in us to go out there and play well and do good. And to look up in the stands and see all those people is awesome. And now going on the road, I don't like it. I like to be here at home, around all the fans, because on the road nobody cheers for you when you do things. But knowing that you got a stadium full of people, and like I say all the time, I think we got the best fans in the MAC. I think we had a potential to have the best fans in the nation, to be honest. And I just want to promote everybody to continue to come out. And we'll have some exciting times at UB Stadium. Two more games here, so I'm excited to see it full.
Fred, Paul Peck from the Bulls Radio Network. As you look back at last year's UMass game, have you thought about how that game may have been a turning point for what is happening now, that second half comeback when you guys sort of found it in yourself to win? Has that crossed your mind?
Yeah, that definitely was a turning point. I think UMass remembers that. So we've been talking this week about making sure we stay focused and coming out fast in the beginning. And so that UMass game was definitely a turning point. We won those two games, and then we go to UMass, and we got a little on our high horse, and coming out in the first half and being down 13-0. But going into halftime, honestly, I'll never forget Coach Quinn came into. We were doing a no huddle type of thing. we're doing a huddle, but we never do huddle. And Coach Quinn came to the sideline and said, do you think the huddle is slowing it down? I remember the offensive line, Trevor Sales, for sure. He was like, let's get out of the huddle and let's play football. And Coach Quinn said, is that what you guys want to do? And we said, yeah. And in that moment, Coach Quinn said, okay. And he didn't question it. He didn't say, no, I'm the head coach, let's do this. He went with us. And so I think, things like that in that game, and we came out the second half and played hard. I think that it was definitely, a turning point for us, and we're just going to continue to go with it.
Hey, Jeff, the offense the last 3 games, why do you think it's been so productive?
Well, the takeaways by our defense has given us a tremendous, amount of confidence in terms of being able, and field position. Let's face it, special teams, I really feel good about the way we've been handling ourselves in coverage units and return units, but the takeaways have been a big part of that. Our defense, it just continues to create opportunities for our offense, and then the offense feels a big part of that responsibility to put the ball in the end zone. And Joe's done a nice job along with our offensive line. So, you've got a lot of things. Freddie, Nuts, you look at the tight ends, the running backs, the offensive line. It's a very cohesive group, but they feed off the defense.
Jeff, it's a new quarterback. It's almost a new offensive line from the one that you played with UMass last year, and that was your ability to rush the passer, kind of turned that game around last year. Is that, how do you look at that going into a matchup with the same team with a lot of different parts?
Well, the challenge defensively is to put pressure on the quarterback, and nobody's really been able to do that. They've only given up 4 sacks on the entire year, and they've played some pretty good competition. So we're gonna have to devise a great scheme. Our personnel is gonna have to understand situations, but that's what they're doing. They're running the ball a little bit more. They're not putting as many points as much as I'm obviously as they would like, and throwing the ball as well. But they're running the ball pretty well, and it's a part of their scheme with their quarterback. Their offensive line, again, I think they move well. They're gelling together. This is a different UMass team. Okay, they're better. They're more experienced. They're playing well in special teams. They got a great punt returner. So they're going to be quite a challenge, and I know they got our full attention. But defensively, we got to put pressure on them, and we've got to be able to devise some ways to get to their quarterback when he is throwing the ball, and certainly try to break up some throws that he's making, and then certainly pursue and tackle. And we've been doing all those things, so it's not like we won't have a solid plan. And the personnel on that field, I feel really good about playing for us.
For a guy who opposing offenses have to keep an eye out for what Khalil Mack is doing, how good of a the numbers he's putting up, how good of a player is Khalil?
The best I've ever coached. When you get triple teamed 13 times, double teamed 17 times in one game, 30 times, he was either double, tripled, and one time I think there was 4 guys on him. Okay, and he's still being able to produce sacks, forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, tackles for a loss. It just goes to show his preparation has been outstanding. He works extremely hard. He's explosive, and certainly, he's the best I've ever coached. Not only because he's a great player, but he's a great person. He's a great teammate. He's a great leader, and he inspires all of us.
Fred, can you talk about Joe's development as a quarterback? We talked a little bit about that touchdown pass they threw you the other day, the back shoulder, what you guys had seen on film. Just being, coming in, this is really his career. How many games have started? Not that many.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And his ability to come in and bring that.
Joe's worked hard since he came in here, and he does a great job. He always could throw the ball really good. I think those games he got in last year gave him a little experience. In this offseason, he really was a leader. He really was coming over, doing extra workouts on Friday mornings, Saturday mornings. We were coming, throwing extra passes and stuff, and he always talked about he loved that back shoulder throw. I didn't know he could throw it 39 yards, like a 39-yard back shoulder, but he really does a great job, and it's just preparation. You know, just everybody's just on board with each other. You know, and we just have that chemistry and connection. You know, we all hang out, you know, outside of football together, and you know, we do things together. His family does a great job, you know, welcoming me in as well as the Newts and stuff. And so it's awesome to see Joe, you know, developing as a sophomore. And I know him and Newts were joking the other day and saying it's amazing how much chemistry we would have if we actually had more years to play with him. But so those other receivers get more, you know, even better, Joe, as the years to come. But you know, he's going to continue to develop this year, and I see big things for Joe, not only in this season but in the future too.
That pass in specific against Weston, the touchdown pass, is that something that he picked up on? Because you talked about how they like to play over the top there. You guys thought that deal. Is that something that he picked up, the coaches picked up?
Well, I mean, we talked about it all week in practice that these guys were aggressive and that, you know, they didn't really they're the number one pass defense in the MAC, you know, and so we knew that they were going to be aggressive. That cornerback, he has really good recovery speed, and they kind of bail a little bit, so it's kind of tough to get over top of them. And so we talked about it all week in practice, and we prepared for it. And just when we got in the game, it's just kind of one of those, you know, instinctive moments. You know, you're running down the field, and we work on the one-on-ones all the time. You know, seeing the cornerbacks over top, and the quarterback just throws it back shoulder. And I mean, it's just one of those instinctive type things, you know, that Joe does a great job at doing. He just reads it. It's 100% read. If I get over top of him, he put it over the shoulder. If the guy's over top of me, he put it back shoulder. And that's just an adjustment that I have to make, and the throw that he has to make. And it was an awesome throw. Honestly, I mean, he's doing a great job. I can't ask for anything better than that. So.
With using Tyler on kickoffs, which is a huge weapon to be able to with a guy pounding it in the end zone all the time, producing 8 touchdowns. How did that come about? Like that, all of a sudden, 3 games into the year, it was like we're gonna see this guy.
Well, we saw it in practice, and Tyler's a competitor. You know, he wants to be on the field. Matter of fact, he doesn't want to just be the punter and the kickoff guy. He wants to be out there making tackles. I mean, there's been a few times we've had to pull back on kickoff coverage because he's right in the mix of things, you know. So he throws the ball. He wants to be the quarterback. I mean, he's all those things. But and I saw that because that's what he did in high school. You know, he was on the field an awful lot. So, you know, you could just tell, and his development of his leg strength has just been outstanding. I mean, you know, the one he kicked out of bounds because he was trying to nail that thing out of the end zone again. He takes pride in kicking that thing into a touchback situation. But, you know, I think as any coach, you should look at your players each day and see how they're coming along. And sometimes, you know, injuries presents opportunities for other players. Sometimes just the body of practice, you're paying close attention, you're charting things. We charted all these kicks, and we just felt at that point, you know, Tyler was, you know, we gave him the nod and to see if he could do it. And he's certainly been the guy who's won that position and will continue to be our kickoff guy. But you certainly look at Pat, and Pat is certainly capable of doing that. He's done it for us. But we feel just right now we've got a good thing going, and we're going to continue leaving Tyler. But it was during practice mainly, just evaluating them and charting things and being very locked into making sure that we're doing a good job of seeing their performance and development, and that's why we gave Tyler the nod.
It's a huge weapon, though. Like the college game, it seems like everybody has somebody that's a pretty good kick returner.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're consistently hitting the ball 5 yards into the end zone and making them think about it,
right,
and lay it, that could have a significant impact.
Right. It's just like your golf shot off the tee. If you can get real close to the hole, you're probably not going to have to break out that second shot because you're going to be putting. And that's what it is to me. He hits that thing as deep as any guy I've ever seen, you know, in terms of my coaching career, you know. I mean, and he's going to continue doing that. So if you can get off the tee and get it in the end zone, you're going to less opportunity for them to return the ball. So I feel good. And plus our coverage unit is getting down there. So if we do need somebody to make a big-time tackle, they're going to have to take it 5 yards out of the end zone, you know, which gives you another heads-up opportunity to keep them pinned inside their 20. You guys didn't like that golf analogy. I got it. All right, no.
I need to get on.
Hey, Jeff, the defense as a group, Max is stud, and you said, you know, that's the coach. Do you think there's an element of lost storyline here that there isn't enough being said about how this defense is not just Khalil Mack, and a number of other guys, Colby Way, your corners, a number of other guys, linebacker corps, really developed that have made this a better overall group?
Well, I think the linebacking core with Lee Skinner, you know, Jake Stockman, You know, they've done a great job. But I tell you, you know, the secondary has been they've been huge. Nigel Johnson, Courtney Lester, Derek Brim, you know, our safeties, Okoye Houston, Adam Redden, you know, and then you look at Christian Sicoli and Bo Bachtel. All those guys have all weighed in to bring along you know, that mentality that we continued to discuss with our defense. Great pursuing the ball, being great tacklers, you know, being opportunistic. And when I interviewed Lou Tepper, I felt he was exactly the right fit to what I was looking for in terms of a defensive coordinator. His philosophy and the way he coaches and the way he keeps things, you know, quote unquote simple, but very complex. You know, it looks a certain way, and you know, he's very sound in the fundamentals that he expects out of our players to execute things with. So, you know, it's a combination, and he's coached a lot of great linebackers. As I said, Lou Tepper wrote the book on linebacker play, and he's got the second edition going. So, you know, Khalil's benefited greatly from his teaching and what he understands a linebacker has to do to go out there and perform. And he's benefited greatly, and a lot of previous players have benefited from Lou's leadership too.
Talk a little bit more about Courtney. How he's developed in the business.
Yeah, you know, Courtney's always been a great athlete. He's been a great competitor. You know, he always brings the energy. You know, Courtney, one thing about Courtney, he's excited about playing football. You know, he loves it, he lives it, he practices that way. He's in tune to what Coach Lindquist and our defense needs, and, you know, he's in the right place at the right time. I remember 2 weeks ago, that interception down on the goal line. I mean, he read that route and that situation as good as any corner I've seen. And, you know, he came up big. But you look at the quality of play by Naja, and you think the quality of play of Marcus Baker. You know, it's about coaches, it's about players, it's about having the right scheme, you know, and they believe in it. And Courtney's got a tremendous amount of skill to continue developing and be a great corner.
You know, Fred, you have a lot of respect for this speaker.
Oh yeah, I mean Courtney, he's my roommate, and in practice, I mean we go at it, you know, every day in practice. And honestly, our defense is the toughest defense I ever played against. Like I look in the games, I'm like, I don't know if I would want to play against our defense because they pursue to the ball. And Courtney, he's really aggressive. You know, he's making plays on the ball. You know, we talk all the time, you know, about, you know, I tell him all the time, I'm like, listen, Courtney, like, you don't let a receiver catch the ball. Like, I'm the only receiver that can catch the ball on you. Don't let anybody else catch it. And so, you know, we go back and forth every day in practice, and he works hard at it. But like Coach said, you know, Marcus Baker, Dwelly Striggles, Naja Johnson, I mean, you know, they all come over there in receiver drills before practice, and they catch passes and stuff before practice because I tell them, like, you guys don't drop the ball. You know, you got to catch the pick. Like, and Courtney used to be a receiver. So I definitely tell him all the time, like, listen, like, I see why they moved you to DB, but he's starting to show now that maybe he could come back and play a little receiver for us with catching those picks. And the one he called against UConn, it was all hands. He called it, you know, tiptoe. I mean, he could have, you know, tried to, you know, not pin us on the 1 yard line, but we still went 99 yards and scored, so it was okay. But yeah, Courtney, he's a great player, and our defense is doing a great job, like Coach Quinn said.
I can tell this guy's a roommate.
Yeah, he's probably gonna watch this and be like, man.
It's funny too, because I mean during camp, I remember numerous plays where like Joe was even to Alex, and Alex was like out dueling him.
Oh yeah.
As he does with most quarterbacks.
Right.
And you had to wonder after a while if it was getting there.
Well, and you play, and Fred made reference to it, you know, when you compete against the best every day, you know, sometimes you don't see that same caliber of player on Saturdays. You know, Alex Nutz is the best player in the league, you know, and so when you're facing against that every day, you're eventually, you know, going to sharpen your skills. And certainly sometimes you're going to play against guys that are not as, you know, as well versed being able to catch the ball. But, you know, that only makes players better, and that's what you got to continue doing, that competition. And that's what I appreciate about both sides of the ball, because we do line up against each other every single day, good against good, and they know that. And that's the only way you're going to get better as a football team, to see good competition every day and get ready. So it is interesting that you bring that point up, because we were all saying the same things, you know, coming out of camp. But Courtney's he's a great kid, and certainly he's one of many that have really stepped up for us.
Coach Mark Collins from 10 Wars.
Yes, sir.
Talk about Okada. The first half had a slow start. The second half seemed to settle in. It's something at halftime that coaches feel, you know, that if you go talk to Joe, is he mature enough to be able to manage the game and the second half and just play the way you did?
Well, I think after the first drive, going 12 plays, 63 yards and a score, I felt we got off on the right note on the road with a big, big score. After that, they tightened down a little bit on us, and I think just a mixture of some of the things they were doing defensively. So we had to adjust a little bit more up front, less about Joe, as it was more about the blocking and how we were reacting to some of the things that they were doing. And once we settled down, I think, and really started to run the ball, I mean, to be able to get that run game going was big, and I kept emphasizing that. And we had a couple tackles for a loss that I think when we look back at it kind of kept us out of being able to move the chains as well as we'd have liked. So, yeah, we needed to do some halftime adjusting and just communicating properly with our kids, and Joe was locked in. He knew what we needed to do, hand it off, get the run game going, and then it opened up some opportunities for him in the second half. And once we were able to do that, he responded. I mean, he's a locked-in guy for 4 quarters. So he manages it well. He got a feel for it. He understood what Coach Wood and I were thinking, and Patterson does a great job on the sidelines, keeping him locked into the little things. And, Joe's going to continue to develop to be a great one. Well, he got his first career catch. Malcolm Robinson did too. Boise's been a guy that we've seen, since he came here this summer. That he's got the maturity. He's a young player, but certainly a very spirited young man. He comes with a lot of focus. He's the first guy in the team meeting room every single day. Boise shows up first. Okay, he's on Lombardi time. I always tell him, I love it. He's 10, 15 minutes early. It just goes to show that you can bring in a freshman that is mentally locked in and has an opportunity to showcase his talent. And we're placing him in some key role and positions, and he's being able to respond. And we got to keep getting that out of him.
Actually, Coach Tepper recruited Boise, and I remember in the summertime, Coach Tepper, he came up to me and said, what do you think about the freshman class? And he's like, who you think's the good one? And I said, honestly, they're all good, but I think Boise, he showed me he was really mature. He came in, even on his visit, I remember, talking to his mom and his brother and his family, come from a really good family, and they're really good people, and you could just tell that in Boise and his preparation. And when he first came in, he was just eager to know. He always wanted to go first. He wanted to get in the first group. He wanted to take some of my reps, and that's awesome. Because I believe, you got to have those guys that can step in and help you, and he's helped us, as far as that reverse he had last week and the catch he made this week, diving across, making that catch, his shoe came off, and he was just so excited, and he loves the game of football. He's my roommate in camp. And every night, I'm like, all right, boys, I'm tired. He's like, yo, can you go over this play with me? Can you show me this? Can you show me that? And I went and got a whiteboard, and we had a whiteboard in the room. We was going over plays and stuff, and he wanted to draw up plays. And he just always wants to learn. He always really does want to learn and get better. And I think he'll be a great receiver here. And I think I told News he might want to get a little extra yards. I think Boise might be a one that'll catch him. But
unusual coach for somebody, for a freshman to be mature, want to play right away.
That in my 30 years of coaching, we've always probably had between 5 and 7 true freshmen. Even when we were at Cincinnati, even when we were at Central Michigan, if you do a good job picking the right guys, it's not a physical thing. Typically you're recruiting guys that physically have those attributes to come in and play. It's whether they're locked in mentally, whether they can handle the classwork, that getting up early, the demands, like Freddie said, about all the plays and the terms and the signals, and that's why I feel strongly that, and I appreciate Danny White allowing us to bring all the freshmen into summer school early, because it gives those kids a jump start. So, last year we played, I think we had 6 in the last year, or 5 last year. The year before we had 6 freshmen, the year before 6. This year we're at 5, and it may go to 6 that have all contributed, that are true freshmen. So we try to look for those kids, and I always tell them I don't redshirt freshmen until after the season, because I want every kid locked in, ready to play, compete, and contribute. And he was one of those guys that really took notice to that, like Devin Campbell and Tyler Grassman and Jason Carlson, Colby Way. Those guys were all first-year players that played for us, and they've done a great job. So it's not unusual, but it's good to see that. Good. You know, the only Blake is one of them that you know, we're going to see day to day, and same thing with Nick Gilbo. We'll see those kids day to day, but you know, we fully anticipate our team, you know, to get all those guys back as quickly as we can. You know. All right. Thank you.